Okay, there we go. Welcome everybody who's here live. Welcome everybody who's watching us on replay. We had a lot of replay watchers last month, which was awesome. So I just want to shout out to everybody who's catching this at a later time on replay. That's awesome. And I want to say real quick to my replay watchers, I noticed last month the video quality on YouTube wasn't awesome, and I'm not sure why. I have all the videos I've ever put on YouTube have come this way through a Zoom recording and then uploaded, so I'm not sure why. But if you are watching this right now and the video quality is not great, my apologies, and I'm going to try to figure out what might be going on there. But such is life in the world of technology sometimes. So welcome everybody. I am just for this portion of the call, I'm going to ask everyone who's live be on mute. I'm going to put my own head in the big box. And we'll have other parts of the call where the floor is open and people can share. All right. So just to recap, oh, I'm letting a few more people in. Here we go. So this is our monthly community gathering. It is free. It is open for everybody. Send the link to your friends. The more the merrier. Everyone is welcome here. I'm calling this container Connect and Create. And like all things I make, it is going to be an evolving work in progress. We will see where it takes us. I have some fun ideas. I'm hoping in the new future to get some feedback from the community to see what your ideas might be. Hi, Alicia, welcome. And but the general idea is that it is a casual gathering where you can make some art. I'm going to talk a little bit about some general thoughts on creativity. I'm going to give you some updates about what's going on in this community that you might want to participate in. We're going to have some sharing time at the end. And the main sort of impetus behind this was that I did recently close our Facebook community. And because there's a lot of things I wasn't feeling on Facebook. However, there are things I miss. I missed a free, easy to access space for everybody. I missed seeing your faces. I missed seeing your art. So that's my hope is that this will be a different way that we can gather and do those things together. So once again, this is right. It's casual. Come as you are. Bring what you want. You can bring an art project. You can bring your sketchbook. You can bring an art journal. You can. I would love if you are able to give yourself, this hour of uninterrupted, full attention to doing something creative. I would love that for you. But use this time to support you in whatever way would support you. If you're commuting to work, if you're walking the dog, if you're folding the laundry, if it's fine. It's fine. Come as you are, come as you can, get what you can out of this time, and it's here for you. So, having said all that, I like to start our time together. Pretty much everything I do, I like to start it with by offering a quick grounding meditation, help us get centered, get present. And if you've never tried that before, if that's not already a part of your art life, of your creative life, it is such a game changer. I can't even tell you. That's why I teach. It's the first thing I teach, and everything I teach. Take a minute. I mean, you can literally take 1 minute. Set your time. Set, one literal minute. Just to take a few breaths, get your feet on the ground, quiet your mind for a minute, and what you produce, or I hate that word, produce. Where you go in your art, the journey you go on in your art time is going to be completely different experience. It might not look different, but it might. But it's going to feel different in your body and your mind, right? You're going to experience something different. Um, so, having said that, let's take a minute and ground. Obviously, if you are driving a car or doing something where you can't close your eyes, and that's fine. You can still listen, you can still breathe, take a breath with us. But if you are able, I invite you to close your eyes, get your feet on the ground if that's possible. Um, I always seem to settle with like a hand on my heart and a hand on my belly. That helps me just like check in with my breath and my body. But Just come into some supported stillness, a position that feels good to be still for a couple of minutes. And I invite you to just take a nice, deep, nourishing breath and let it out with like some sound, with like an audible sigh. There's a lot of power in moving sound out of our body along with the breath. And you can do that like 2 or 3 times, depending on what level of settling you need right now. Just land, just allowing ourselves to land right here in the present, together in this container. Just know that the next hour or so is here to support and nourish you and the community. And those two things go hand in hand. As we nourish ourselves, we nourish each other, we nourish this community, and that nourishes us. It's all connected. Just bring your awareness to your breath. Just noticing your breath moving in and out, not judging it, just noticing. I like that hand on my belly to check in. Am I taking nice, deep, full body breaths? And just notice if it would feel supportive, maybe you can just deepen and lengthen those breaths just a little bit. Nothing that feels forced, nothing that feels harsh, just a gentle deepening. Bring a little more oxygen into the system, let a little more out. I invite you to just take a conscious moment and let go of anything you were doing before you stepped into this time, to the degree that you are able, right? If you were in the middle of a task or a conversation or maybe just a train of thought, just pause that, set it down, energetically set it down. It will be there waiting for you later. And likewise, if there's anything pulling you into the future, something you know you need to address later on, something happening later today, we're going to just let that go for now. Sometimes I say if there's anything really stubborn that just will not be let go of, peek your eyes open for a minute, write it down. Release it to the paper, let the paper hold it. You don't need to hold it for the next hour. Let's let your awareness start to sink out of the headspace, back into the body, feeling your breath, feeling your heartbeat. And we're going to let that awareness sink all the way to our feet on the floor, feeling the surface beneath you. You can wiggle your toes a little bit if that helps bring your awareness there. Feeling your connection to the surface beneath you. And if you like, if this feels fun to you, you can imagine Opening up that imagination. Imagine you have roots that grow out of your feet, through the floor, connecting you all the way into the earth like an anchor, anchoring you there. Just feel that stability of being anchored to the earth. Before we open our eyes, let's take a moment and just check in with your heart space. You can put your hands on your heart if you like, sending some breath there. Just feeling that heart space open and expand. That place where our creativity can flow through. And as you feel ready, just gently blink your eyes open, coming back into our shared space. Welcome, everybody. And you are welcome to, again, if you just want to sit and listen, that's totally cool. If you want to grab an art project, if you want to grab a sketchbook or a journal, that's cool. Do what supports you during this time. I'm going to talk, and you are invited to listen while you make art. And just if you're new here, if you weren't here last month, or if you're new here, or if you're new to this community, I'm Aimee. Hi, everybody. I'm Aimee Blair. This community is called Creative Compass. We are an online community of creative explorers. All forms of creativity are welcome. What I primarily teach here is intuitive art. So art that is anchored in expression and process and intuition and less in technical skills and some of the more traditional modes of art. So that's what we do here. Um, what I do here in this space, in this monthly call, is usually share a little bit about, just something that whatever kind of dials in on, within the topic of creativity that I'm feeling like called to speak into. I'm going to talk a little bit about a few things today. And then I'm going to give you a few updates about just what is going on in our larger community here. Just so you know, so you're in the know. That's something else I used the Facebook group a lot for, just to keep everyone in the loop about what we were doing and what was happening and what was going on, things you could join in if you chose. So I'll be doing that here as well. And then the last bit of our call, the last, 15, 20 minutes or so, is what I affectionately refer to as show and tell. Because I was an elementary school teacher for many years, and I have affectionate, fond memories of show and tell. Also, it is what it says, right? It's your opportunity to show, if you'd like, what kind of art you're making, or tell us about what kind of art you're making. And um, that is optional, of course. You're never required to share. You're invited to share. And what I love about that so much is that's really where, we get to celebrate and inspire each other, right? Because you can hear me, I can talk all day, but I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what you're making, what you're trying, what's going on in your art life. And that inspires me. And I know it inspires others. You might see someone playing with an art supply or a medium that you've never tried, or trying a cool technique you've never tried. Last month, we had someone who was on the live call was telling us about the February collage month. I didn't know about that. Yeah, Lucian, that was you. Yeah. Um, yeah, I didn't know about that. So we get to share our own, our wisdom and our with each other and our words with each other, and we get to witness and celebrate each other, which is really what it's all about. So all that said, here's what I want to talk about a little bit today. Um, and really, the way I decide what I want to talk about is just kind of like what I'm feeling. And if I'm feeling it, I'm going to assume there's probably some other people out there feeling it. I want to talk a little bit about making art when things feel heavy, when the world feels hard, when the world feels heavy, either and both what's going on sort of out there in the world and the collective, and also we have seasons, in our own personal life. How do you keep moving? And I talked about this a little bit in one of my emails recently. Like it's easy to get, into that mindset of like, how can me making a painting like, what difference does it make when there are, these horrible, hard things going on in the world or when there are these hard things going on in my own life? And the irony is, um, I don't know if you guys experience this. I do, that we know so deeply how much our art helps us. We know how it calms our nervous system, helps us process our emotions. We feel better, we feel happier. We know all that. And yet, it always seems that when we need our art practices the most, when the hardest things are going on in our lives, that can be when it becomes the hardest to like make ourselves sit down at the easel or go to our art journal or lean into our art. Do you guys feel that? You experienced that? Yeah, I experience it for sure. And um, just, the reason that is doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. When things are happening that either literally or our body feels like they threaten our safety, whether that is like a real imminent danger to our safety or something we see on the news and our nervous system doesn't know the difference between it being imminent to our body and being on the news. As humans, like our normal human responses, we get into that survival mode, that fright, flight, freeze, survival mode. And when you're in survival mode like that, your natural human response is to kind of shut down the things that don't feel like they are necessary for imminent survival, right? Like if there's a tiger that's going to jump out from every corner and attack me, I don't need a paintbrush, right? I need a sword or something. Um, and so it's a very normal human response. Um, when you're in that like that survival mode, it puts us in that like constant vigilance state, right? We're waiting for the next bad thing to happen. And it is really hard to be like, I think I'll just paint a painting when we're in that, that hypervigilant state. I might even be so bold as to say it's impossible. And that's one of the reasons for the grounding, right? That's why we ground and reset, so we can drop out of that a little bit. Um, but I want to just offer a few like really practical things you can do if you're finding yourself in that state of mind, right? I know we're all in different, places and have different things going on, but there are a lot of big, heavy things going on in the world right now that are impacting everybody. And if you find yourself in that place where you want to lean into your art, but it feels hard, I just want to offer a couple of like really practical things that you can work with. Um, the first one is, and this is going to sound like off-brand for me because I'm usually all about talking about like being in the body and being in the feelings and all of that. But this is actually one place where sometimes your practical thinking mind actually has to come in and like give you a little pep talk. Because it feels the danger, the threat feels very real in our bodies right now. And, sometimes the mind has to come in and be like, okay, you know what, right now you're safe. Your house is safe, your body is safe. So sometimes, you need to invite in that logic voice to give you a little pep talk in times like these. And on the art front, I want to offer you an art practice. Um, if I have a lot going on in my head, a lot feels heavy, a lot feels hard. This isn't always like for me personally, this isn't always when I'm gonna like go to my canvas and produce a masterpiece painting. It's just like my mind's too full, I can't. But it's a great time to do something, a little more low key. It's a great time to like grab your sketchbook and do some like idle doodling or and I don't say like those practices I talked about. I was talking about this in our members, those of you who are in the membership who get my members newsletter. I was talking about this practice of just like grabbing your notebook with no plan, no outcome attachment, just moving your pencil. Like I'm looking right now, I see Doreen's painting her edges. Painting your edges is like a great thing to do when like the world is hard and heavy and you're like, I'm not making a masterpiece today. Maybe I'll paint some edges and I'll feel better. I'm not implying that that's what you're doing, Doreen, but I just noticed and I'm like, that's an awesome, way you can lean into your creative because it's going to have that calming effect on your nervous system that making art does. Um, but you don't have to, engage quite as deeply if that makes sense. If you've ever Googled like neurographic art or Zentangle or mandalas or like coloring books, those kind of like those meditative sort of art practices that don't ask that much of you. They don't ask for a grand plan or hours and hours at the canvas, right? It might be time to lean into those practices because they are going to help your mental health, but they don't ask quite as much for you. A few years ago, I interviewed art therapist Shelley Clammer, who's fantastic. Google her if you're not familiar with her. And she referred to this practice as unintentional art, which I like. We talk a lot about intention here. Like, oh, what's our intention? Let's put some intention in our art. Sometimes we need to make unintentional art, right? We're just splashing colors on paper, moving water in watercolors. I love like a really watery watercolor, like something where it's just there's going to be movement and it's kind of, it's very just go with the flow. That resets my nervous system entirely. Um, so yeah, so if the world is feeling right now like a little too heavy to go real deep into your art practice, instead of letting it go, just letting it dissolve because you know it's going to make you feel better. See if there's just a simple unintentional type of art making that you can lean into, right? Doodle with a pen. Does everyone have like that one like really great pen that just like feels so good? If you don't, go spend $8, $9 and buy yourself like one really awesome ink pen. I'm a big fan of the Micron brand, Micron pens, or like the calligraphy flare pens. Those are fun, right? Doodle with a really great pen for a little while and just yeah, just see if that type of art making, mark making, all that stuff, if that would feel good and supportive, because you're gonna feel better. I promise. We always do, right? Art is medicine. We always feel better when we make art. And then I have one final practice, but I'm going to talk that I want to offer you, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit later as we approach closer to the end of our time. And I love those of you who are live. Does anyone, I love to hear your voices too. Does anyone want to chime in on that? Like, does that land? Does that feel true? Do you have any practices that are like your go-to when you're like, I just need something to keep it light today? I'd love to hear from anyone who wants to feel free to unmute and chime in.
I finger paint.
Love that.
Instead of using a tool, I use my body in some way. And I like to use those acrylic inks or water-based inks.
Hmm.
Alcohol inks are fun too, but they're a little bit, more messy.
Yes.
And just to let the drips happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
There's
then
something.
just leave it. It doesn't have to be something, a form, or it can be just free form.
Yeah, there's something really soothing about the forms of art where you have a little less control, right? You're just letting it go, letting it flow. We get to surrender a little bit more. Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Anyone else want to comment, chime in?
Yeah. What I usually do is go back to urban sketching
Fun.
because, it's like live sketching outside. So I'm outside, which I like. And I can only do that if I really pay attention. So
Mm,
it's like a mindful thing in that sense. You can't talk to someone and at the same time be drawing. And it's not what I usually, well, it's one of the things I do, mostly when I'm traveling, but yeah, it helps me being both outdoors and doing something that requires all my attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love the
So
outdoors part if you're able to get
yeah,
outdoors. And also, yeah, that's such a good point when focuses you on something for a minute, that can be really
yeah.
helpful and healing.
For
And
me, that drawing requires more focus.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not that I want to catch like everything. I'm more of an impressionist, but
Okay.
I can if I have to. Yeah, it's the mindful and being outdoors. So I'm very happy that the weather has improved because it's been
Mm-hmm.
too cold so far to do any outdoor stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Um, yeah, and I just want to add, um, you know, the intention is never like, it's not escapism. It's not like we're going to pretend that these hard things aren't going to happening. It's that sometimes you just need some respite. You just need a minute so that you can refuel and resource yourself, and then you can go back into, whatever the hard thing is that's happening with a clearer mind, a calmer nervous system, and you can be, fruitful in that and what you go into. So it's not about sticking our head in the sand and pretending that nothing bad is happening. It's about, taking a breath for a minute and recharging ourselves. And I recharge through art quite often. That is what clears my head, resets me, settles me, and then I feel resourced to dive back into whatever it is, whatever it is that's going on. All right. Hmm. So I'm going to take a minute and just talk about some things that are going on here in our community before we come into our sharing time. And the first thing I want to just celebrate and let everybody know about is that we just wrapped up. So I launched this year as sort of like a beta or like a pilot, like a tester program, a new program called Intuitive Art School. I had an amazing, brave group of 8 ladies, including Kelly, who's on our call today, jump in on this brand new thing that I've never done before. And it was a 6-month deep dive, intuitive art and creativity container. And it was sort of a place to put all of the things I love teaching about that don't always, come up in sort of like the 90-minute workshops and the things that I offer. So it was this sort of beautiful culmination of all of the creative related topics that I like to teach about. We made a lot of art. We talked about a lot of things. We went deep into sort of using the intuition. And it was so much fun. It was such a great group of people who jumped in, and we just wrapped that up. In fact, we're still wrapping up the last couple little bits, little post-class bits that go with it. But we started in September because school starts in September, right? Because I'm a teacher, and that's when school starts. And we wrapped up, and we had 6 months together, and those 6 months went by like this. I was like, man, I could have spent another 6 months. But it was so much fun. It was so fun. I love our 90-minute workshops that we do every month. I absolutely love them. That's why I keep doing them. I love calls like this, but what a joy it is to have sort of like a bigger, longer container to really go deep. That was really, really awesome. So I'm in the phase right now as we're wrapping up this sort of beta launch of that class. I'm going to be spending the next few months kind of in my own reflection, as well as gathering feedback from the ladies who participated and kind of putting together, um, reworking a few things, putting together what I would call like the official launch of Intuitive Art School, which will be next September, because that's when school starts, right? So, um, so I'm hoping, that folks will get curious about that and come find out what that all's all about, because it was a really enjoyed it. Really great time. So that's one thing that's going on in this community. Since I've opened this community a couple years ago, I was really one of my biggest like hopes was to have that sort of like deep dive container for people who wanted to take another step in and go a little deeper, have a little more consistency, have a little group, a little, tight knit group. I love that sort of like 8 to 10 size group is awesome to work with. So thrilled that we got off the ground this year in our beta form, and I can't wait to open it up next fall to in its sort of official launch. So that is one thing that we do here in this community. And congratulations to the ladies who graduated from Intuitive Art School. It was super fun. Um, and the next thing I want to let you know about is that, as you probably know by now, unless you're brand new here, and if you're brand new here, welcome. We have a 90-minute workshop every month that I offer, an intuitive painting workshop. There's always a theme. The theme is rooted in sort of where we are in the turning of the year, specifically in the Northern Hemisphere, because that's where I live. But the themes are universal. They're themes you can work with in your art and in your life, no matter what hemisphere you live in or what time of year it is. But that's how we do it. And I pick the themes. If you were ever curious, I pick the themes really intuitively. I just sort of wait till something drops in, something sparks. I'll see a word, I'll see an image, something sparks and something drops in. And every month I'm like, this is it. This is finally going to be the month where no ideas drop in. And it hasn't happened yet. This is round 3 of these workshops. And when I started doing this, I thought, well, I'll probably like after a year or two, I can loop around and repeat the ones that I did last year because people won't remember them or, whatever. And new ideas just keep coming in. So I haven't done that yet. I haven't looped back and repeated workshops. I might someday. We have had some really good ones. But anyway, it's March. Our March workshop is going to be on the 19th. So they're always on the third Thursday of the month, unless, it's Thanksgiving or, there's some, big holiday in the way. Um, they're on the third Thursday on the month. They are, if you want to come live, they are in the middle of the day, noon East Coast time, which I know doesn't work for everybody, but you always get the replay as part of your ticket price. Everyone gets the replay. So our theme this month, no, I just realized like timing wise, we always have these calls just before I open up the next workshop. So you guys get like the first, like the you heard it here first insider information every month. Um, we're going to talk about the equinox. The spring equinox comes in March. And we're going to talk about this theme of sort of balance. So the equinox, is equal day, equal night. We're going to talk about this sort of balance of opposites, how we work with that in our art, how we work with that in our life, how we, call in that balance, how we work with things that seem to be opposite and opposing, how that energy. So that is where we're headed in our workshop this month. The doors for that will open next week. And if you are part of our membership community, you get all the workshops. So if you're a member, you don't have to buy a ticket or sign up for anything. You are already on the guest list for all the workshops. So that's how we do things around here. You can buy a ticket each month if a particular workshop speaks to you, if the theme, makes you excited or the date and time work great for you, you can hop in, or you can join our membership where you get every month you get the workshop and you get some other cool things in addition. So that's going on. And then the last thing I'm just going to mention, and I'm going to talk more about this next month, but I just want to mention it here. In the summer months, starting usually in May, I run this program called Reclaim Your Creativity. And there's a few people on the call today who have graduated, who've gone through that program. Um, so fun to see you guys still here. It is a 3-month one-on-one coaching, just you and me, one-on-one, little sort of like mini coaching, creative coaching experience. And you get 5 sessions, I believe 5 one-on-one sessions with me that you use in this 3-month container. So it's sort of like short and intense and short and sweet, but it really moves the needle for people. I wouldn't continue to do it if I didn't see it really getting results for the people who step in. And the gist is if you are just feeling sort of stuck or blocked or lost in your creative life, if you know there is more you want to be doing and you're just not for whatever reason, and you would just love to have some support with someone who can, um, you can talk that through with, can help you come up with some strategies, some ideas, some ways to move forward. Um, or the other type of folk who often step into this container, if you have something specific you want to create, but you just haven't been able to like pull the, push the launch button, if you haven't been able to sort of sit down and get started, and you just would love some support in coming up with a plan, a strategy, some strategies for getting going and maybe breaking down into steps. If you're overwhelmed, if you don't know where to start, I can help you with that. So it's one of my favorite things we do here in this community. I've had folks do it more than once because the next summer rolls around and they're like, there's something else I could use support with. And so that is going to be opening up in probably April if you want to jump in and reclaim your creativity. So it's just putting that on your radar for what's coming up in the future. All right. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them either, live on this call or in the chat and the YouTube video. If you want to pop questions in, always happy to answer your questions. So it is 10, let's see, looking at the time here. So I alluded earlier, there is one more practice I want to offer you for keeping your creative life going even when it feels hard. Whatever reason, it feels hard because the world feels hard, if it's hard because your personal life feels hard, if you're just having a hard time getting to the canvas and you're not sure why. I want to offer something that we can do together now that can support you in those times. So if you'd like to play along, I'm going to play along at home. I'm going to invite you to grab a notebook. And if you're watching on replay, you can stop into the stew, grab something you can write in or on. Or this is just going to be a 5-minute thing we're going to do together. Um, while you're here, having done some art making, we've grounded, we've gotten present, we talked a little bit, we made some art. I want to invite you to write a letter to yourself, reminding yourself how good this feels. How good it feels to drop into your art practice and make art, reminding yourself of all the benefits you get from it, so that the next time it feels hard, you can go back to your notebook and read this letter and be like, oh yeah, I'm actually going to feel better if I do this, even though it feels hard right now. So that is your invitation for the next 5 minutes or so, if you would like to. Write yourself a letter. Just drop into the feeling, like how this feels right now. Just write yourself a letter reminding yourself how good it feels to make art and maybe to be in community making art. Whatever parts feel really, nourishing today, whatever feels good for you. Remind yourself how much you enjoy that. And then use that as a tool the next time making art feels hard. I did this recently for myself with I'm trying to develop a weightlifting practice, not in the like muscle man body builder, but just like, bone strength, bone health, all that. And I don't love it, but I actually do feel better when I do it. And the last time I did some weights, I actually sat down with my journal and was like, remind yourself, this makes you feel better. You feel strong and healthy and proactive about your health and feel proud of yourself afterwards. And I wrote that out in my journal. And, every day when the week comes up, that's supposed to be my weightlifting week, predictably, I don't want to do it. And I'm very resistant, and I pull out my journal and I read what I wrote, and I remind myself that I actually feel better after I do it. All right, I'm going to stop talking now so y'all can write, and then we will do some show and tell. All right. How was that? Did anyone try that practice of writing a letter to yourself? How'd that feel? Good. Yeah. Do you want to talk, Alicia? Go ahead. No. Okay. I thought you were raising your hand. No, thanks. All right, friends. So, at this point, let's see. We're gonna do a little show and tell time here. If you're live on the call, and if you're not live, if you're on the replay watching, I would absolutely love for you to drop in the comment section on YouTube. You can post an image if you'd like, or you can just, I think, can you post images on YouTube comments? I think you can. Or just a couple of sentences. Tell us about what's going on in your art life. Tell us what you're making. Tell us what mediums you're trying, what techniques you're trying. Tell us what if you want to tell us, We've had this conversation about art practices that help us in hard times. If you've got a practice you want to share, we'd love to know about that. So drop us a comment. I always read them. Let us know what's going on in your art life right now. All right, so I'm gonna take my head out of the big box in a minute. I'll do the Before I do that, I'm just going to give a quick recap of our sort of guidelines for sharing and witnessing art in this community for anyone who's not heard them. So the first one is sharing is an invitation. You are not required. No one is going to make you. No, I won't like call you out. It is an invitation if you would like to share. And I always like to add to that. If you have never shared your art in a community like this, it is really powerful. It is really powerful for you, the sharer, to just let yourself be witnessed as an artist. And it is really powerful for the other people who get to witness you and be inspired by what you are doing. So you are invited and encouraged to share, but of course, you are not required. Um, If you want to share, you can raise your hand, your human hand, or your little zoomy hand, whatever's easier for you. And just the other guideline I have here is that we do not in this space offer critique of any kind. We're not here to offer like technical art critique. That's not the intention of this container. There are certainly times and places for that if you're trying to grow as an artist, but that's not what we're here for today. So we're not offering critique and we don't offer unsolicited advice. So if a person who's sharing is like, hey, I tried watercolors for the first time today. I didn't get, as vibrant a color as I wanted. Does anyone have a tip for that? Right, that's a direct question. You want to respond for that? Awesome. But we're not going to give unsolicited advice. So I'm not going to look at, Dorian's art and be like, hey, what you could have done differently, right? That's not the vibe we're going for here. So no critique, no unsolicited advice. If you want to offer a reflection, like if you'd like to share what somebody else's art evokes in you, or if you want to celebrate their art making, that is always welcome. So yeah, that about covers it. All right, I'm going to take my giant head out of the back box here so I can see everybody who's live and has their camera on. You gotta go, Kelly. Okay, thanks for being here, Kelly. Do you want to show us your art real quick, or you just want to run?
I didn't do any, I just organized my journal, my
Oh,
100
okay,
day. So
awesome,
I was doing my 100-day journal. So
nice,
thank you so much, everyone.
very nice. Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for being here. Doreen, I see your little zoomy hand up. You want to share with us today what you've been making over there?
Okay. I'm muted, right?
You're
So
good.
I'm continuing with our fire.
Oh, nice. Is that the piece you started in the workshop last month, Doreen?
Yeah, I don't see my camera. Where's my camera?
Yep, you're good. We see you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so this thing appeared. This I don't know skeleton. I don't know if it's gonna stay though, but I thought it was gonna be a goddess.
Then it went a different direction.
I went a different direction. So we'll see how much I we'll see what happens. So. But I had fun. The embers turned into flames, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's coming along. So
beautiful. I love that spiral in the background too. That's
yeah, yeah, we'll see if that stays too. You know how it works.
indeed. Thank you, Doreen. So Doreen was at our February workshop. The theme was Rekindle was the name of that workshop, and we talked a lot about fire energy and this year of the fire horse that on the Chinese zodiac, and we talked about Saint Bridget and Saint Bridget's flame, and so we worked with a lot of fire imagery in the painting, or there was an invitation to work with fire in imagery in the painting. So Doreen's developing that painting, which is amazing. That flame, really growing. Awesome. Thank you, Doreen. Other ladies who are live, would you like to share today? Yeah, Alicia, why don't you go ahead? And then we'll come back to you, Lucian. Thanks for sharing, guys. What are you working on, Alicia? Looks like you were sketching. Oh,
There we go. Um, so I just moved and I don't really have my supplies. So I just have this notebook and my pencil, and this is what I ended up with.
Cool. I love that. I love that, you're like, well, I don't know where any of my art supply. I mean, we've all been there, right? Moving or whatever, traveling, and you're like, I don't know where anything is. And it's like, let me just grab a spiral notebook and a pen and
Yeah.
make art with what I have. I love that.
And I haven't really made art in a couple months.
Well, now you have. Congratulations. I'm glad you were here. Glad you were able to come. There is something magical about, I know everyone can't make it live, but there is something magical about when you're being held in a live container like this. We get, it just makes it a little bit easier to do the things that are hard.
Yeah,
Oh, well, thank you for being here and thank you for sharing. And that's some really cool imagery that's coming out in your notebook there.
thanks.
With it. All right. Thanks, Alasia. Beautiful. Lucienne, you want to share today?
Yeah, that's fine. Although I didn't get as far. I was experimenting with. I learned about these colors that colors pop more if you use a lot of neutrals. I'm not really like
Hmm.
a lover of neutrals. No
Weird.
gray, white, beige kind of thing. So I was experimenting with it because my natural inclination is more something like this.
Yeah, like all bright colors.
Yes, and I say, well, it doesn't work. So I don't know. But I haven't done even the
Oh,
first
beautiful.
of
So is your
neutral
love of
colors.
neutrals evolving or not yet?
Not really, but I think it does have some, like, I do see a difference if not everything is like bright. Um, I don't know where it will go. It turned out quite graphical, which I hadn't planned either, but the next layer might change that. And I think I do have a good feeling of colors and contrast and whatever. It's just neutral's not my thing. My house is like orange, green, and whatever, and no, well, the ceilings are white because I hate painting ceilings, but otherwise. So it's interesting. I don't know. Maybe it will work, maybe not.
I love
Yeah.
the spirit of experimentation. I use that word a lot
Yeah.
when I talk about art. It's like we're just gonna experiment, just see what happens. And
Yeah.
um,
And so I'm not sure. I don't know what impression it doesn't, yeah, it's just a start really. So I don't know. We'll
all
see.
right. To be
It was
continued.
nice working on it.
Good. Good, good. Yeah. I'm also would say I'm not naturally drawn to neutrals most of
Mm.
the time. But every now and then I'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna work in gray, in like grayscale or.
Oh, well, I can do like black and white with
Yeah.
like one color or so. But this was really about this how if you have neutral sections, the colors will pop more. So I
Mhm.
was looking for that effect because your eyes get drawn to the biggest contrast kind of thing. So if everything is bright, you don't have the contrast.
Mhm.
I know. I might have to play around more with it.
Yeah, beautiful. What I love about using the language of like experiment or experimentation is, if you think back to like high school science class, right? Like, how do you do an experiment? It's like you try it, you see what happens, you collect the data from it, right? Like you see, and then you make another decision based on that. So there's no like attachment, right?
Yeah.
Science kind of gives us that language of like not being attached. Like it's just data, it's just information. It's gonna let us
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Right. So you don't
Yeah.
have to be attached to like, I hate it or I love it. Right. It's just like, I'm just going to see what happens. And then I will
Yeah.
make my next decision based on the data I gather from that
Well,
experiment.
the interesting for me is like I do like parts. I don't know if you can see it. Like this part, I actually really like. This is all neutral. It's
Yeah.
like, and then I put in the pink. I think, no, that's a mistake. That is not working as I expected it to be. So maybe it's too big or whatever. So I learned something already.
There you go.
Yes.
Oh. All
So
right.
thanks.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you could be here live. And for our friends on replay, again, just to say again, we'd love to see what you're making. Drop us a comment, show us, tell us, let us know what's going on in your art life so that we can support you, because that's what we're here for. All right, folks. So, we will be gathering again the first Friday in April. So this is a once a month call, the first Friday of the month. I don't have the number of what that is on the top of my head for April, but the first Friday. And we will be here every month. This space is open, it's free, it's welcome to all. You can invite friends if you'd like, the more the merrier. And this is your space to make a little art, hang out in community for a little bit, and hear about what's going on in our community. So, all right, I'm gonna close the recording here, and then I will say goodbye to those of you who are here live.